This morning on BRN, new home sales continue to be a bright spot in the housing market. Joining me now to discuss this and a lot more, Deidre Woollard is a real estate expert. Deidre, always great to see you. Thanks for joining us on the program this morning.
Happy to be here.
You are a wealth, a treasure trove of information when it comes to real estate. I want to cover a broad range of topics, but my first question to you out of the gate is, let's talk about these new home sales. We'll get into the rest of the marketplace, but let's talk a little bit about new home sales. They seem to be carrying the real estate market right now.
And they have been for a while. And in the past, that was because the inventory on the existing home side wasn't as robust. That's shifting, but new homes are still selling better than existing homes. So why is that? Part of it, I think, is mortgage sensitivity and the fact that with new homes, you can do a mortgage buy down, at least temporarily. So that takes out some of the sting of, having to pay a 6 or 7% mortgage. You can get maybe a percentage point off. So that I think is a big factor here.
Yeah, and that was going to be my question to you as to why. Do you think that? I mean, look, I like things that are brand spanking new. Is there a downside to buying a new home? I mean, I think you get new appliances, you get new materials. It's a brand new home. Theoretically, no leaks, no real problems for a period of time. You've got warranties on all your products. But is there a downside to having a new home versus getting an existing home?
A few things. Well, first of all, new doesn't always mean perfect. So that
Oh,
is why
that's
you
true.
definitely need a warranty and I have heard some horror stories. So new doesn't mean that nothing will go wrong. But part of it is some of the younger generation and some of the older generation. I mean, we have to remember that the people that are buying homes aren't just the young people. They're older
Yeah.
people. They don't want to fix stuff as much anymore. So fixer-uppers aren't selling as well. And so that's part of it, even because you can't fix and flip the way you used to, a few years ago. So yes, the new homes, it's part of it is the allure of something that you don't have to fix. And part of it is location too. Are these in places that are more desirable for consumers right now?
Yeah, like I live, as you know, I live in the audience knows, I live in Charlotte, and they seem to be plopping homes everywhere,
Anywhere they can.
anywhere they can. Some of them, to me, I say to my wife, I'm like, look at this. It's a beautiful townhouse, and my wife will say it's just not in a good location. Look, it's on a main road. There's a lot of noise. I could, so that I think you're right. It's about location, location, location. Deidre, it always seems to be about location. Location to schools, location to hospitals, location to food shopping, gasoline. We need to be around what we buy.
Yeah, and you said another important word there, townhouse. So townhouses are booming. Like D.R. Horton, one of the biggest home builders, is is gradually getting more and more of their inventory into townhouses. So part of that is because you could have the same amount of land that they already paid for, and you could fit more properties on it. But part of it is also price point of homes.
Yeah, and so a townhome, I guess theoretically would be because you're kind of connected unless you're on the end of a townhome. I guess that it's cheaper collectively. You're building from a building's perspective, you're building more, and they're all connected to each other. From the buyer's perspective, I guess you're getting a newer product. But I don't know. Living next door to my neighbor that close to my neighbor might be a problem. You probably could hear them through the walls.
Hopefully not if it's built correctly. But the median sale price of a new home in April, it was around $407,000. So that's down around 2% from last year. So the builders know they can't keep building bigger and bigger homes because the market isn't there. So they have
Yeah.
to figure out how to make this work. And that's where townhouses come in. I mean, you get your own door, you get a little backyard. It's, if your price point is low, this is a way to get in.
And you could buy like 3 townhouses if you wanted and connect them all together. I guess that's a possibility, but you'd have to upgrade into other things. Anyway, as I digress, let's talk about. I want to talk about first-time buyers. I want to go back to that because when you and I started chatting 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when we first launched the network, and before that the podcast, it was really tough for those first-time home buyers. Given today's market with the interest rates, maybe. The inventory where it is it still challenging for these first time buyers, and are they making concessions in terms of what they're looking for?
If anything, it's gotten worse because when we were talking a few years ago, the interest rates were much lower. Prices were high, and that was the concern. Now interest rates they're not going to go down, it seems like, significantly this year. And the price point hasn't shifted really. I mean, so we had April existing homes data recently, and the prices are still up about 1.8% year over year. So the question is, when do they drop? They are dropping in some markets. There are some markets where prices are definitely dropping, and it's likely that they're going to drop. I think Zillow is forecasting like a 1% drop this year, but so far we haven't seen those big drops, and that's what people are really waiting for. So I would say it hasn't gotten easier at all.
No, and so I guess they have to make concessions about, downsizing maybe their own lives, waiting for the market to change. Deidre, when you look at the, spring and summer, I think before the school year tends to be a really hot, generally speaking, tends to be a hot real estate market. Going into the summer, is it, with interest rates, you said interest rates are not going to go down anytime soon. That has an indirect impact to mortgage rates, of course. Not directly correlated, but it's indirectly correlated. Anyway, but what does that spring, summer selling season look like, or is it non-existent?
It's not non-existent, but it's not as robust as it could be. The chief economist of the National Association of Realtors said that about April's numbers, there's about 75% of pre-pandemic numbers. So we haven't had a bounce back since the pandemic, which is pretty striking. I mean, we had that little pandemic pop, but since then, not a lot. So April sales were down 2% year over year, which is, April is usually the hot time, April through October. Last year, we didn't see a big boom, and this year it's looking like we're not going to see a big boom either, even though the
Yeah.
inventory is rising.
Yeah, I mean, that's unfortunate. And, you and I have also talked about the real estate commission market kind of changing because of the National Association of Realtors settlement that happened about the commission structure. I would imagine that real estate agents whose livelihood depends on selling, there's got to be some measured concern there.
There is definitely some concern there. There has been a reported drop in membership for some of the associations. The other thing that's happening right now in the real estate industry is a big discussion about private listings versus keeping everything on the MLS and open. So Compass is one of them that is doing exclusive listings. So it's kind of like back to the old days where you just have to go to the real estate office and flip through the book. They're
Hmm.
almost doing that where you have to be part of Compass's network in order to see some of their listings. And this has the industry in a lot of turmoil right now.
It sounds very similar, Deidre, to like, how doctors move to like a concierge service? I mean, I know it's not exactly analogous, but doctors, you can get a higher level of care if you pay a certain fee every month. And that was because of the cost of doing business, the insurance rates, et cetera. It sounds very similar. Like if you want to be able to look at the best listings, you got to kind of pay to play. You got to be a part of these private networks, for lack of, I'm assuming they're paid for.
They're not paid for, but you have to have an agent that is in that network.
Got it.
So that's the thing, is it's the difference between everyone these days. They go to Zillow or realtor.com or homes.com to search. If homes stop being in that open pool of what's available, that's a big shift.
And it sounds like, like I love technology. You and I have talked about AI. We've talked about so much, but it's kind of taken the agent a little out of things because now you can, everybody and their mother can go to, and their father can go to Zillow and Redfin. This puts the real estate agent back in control, really, for the first time since the tech bubble, right? I mean, they're in more control now.
It could, but does it benefit the consumer and does it benefit the seller? I mean, that's the real question too. If you're going with, sometimes you want that. Sometimes if like in Los Angeles, there's a lot of private listings because of celebrities and issues like that. But
Yeah.
in most markets, anything that's available really should be out in the open.
I mean, I agree. I mean, that's the best place for a market, but as well as I, that is not always that ideal doesn't always follow into the reality, the practical. Last question. Let's talk about affordability. I was reading Woollard Hub's survey. Flint, Michigan is the most affordable city in the United States. On the corollary to that, Santa Barbara is the least affordable. Get reaction to that. Is it because Flint, Michigan doesn't have good water? Why? I'm joking. All joking aside, why is it that Flint, Michigan is the least affordable, but or the most affordable, and Santa Barbara is the least affordable?
Well, I mean, some of it is coastal real estate tends to be more expensive, although there's serious weakness on the Gulf side of Florida right now. So some of it is that Midwestern prices have gone up. They just
Mhm.
haven't gone up compared to the rest of the country. So some of that is what's happening here, but the Midwest continues to be the most affordable place. South has seen the most increases, although, like I said, there's weakness. There's weakness in Texas, in the Austin area, San Antonio. There's weakness in Cape Coral, Florida. There's some weakness on the Atlantic side in Florida. So you're starting to see pockets of major weakness where you're not seeing weakness and the affordability is an issue, still mostly in the Northeast, still mostly in California and Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, those prices still seem high to me in the Northeast and some of these major cities.
Yeah.
And if I live there, I mean, they have like little cottages the size of like these small little homes that are going for almost $1 million or more. I get it from an investment perspective, but if you have a growing family, how do you fit 3 kids into 1.5, 2 bedrooms?
Well, it's all about trade-offs. If you're living in one of those areas, you're there because of
Schools.
either family, jobs, or some other reason. You
Yeah.
make those trade-offs. If you want more space, and a lot of people do, then they move to these smaller towns. They move to the middle of the country.
Yeah, well, that's all about compromise and figuring out what you need. Probably the best place to start if you're trying to buy a home. Write it down, pros, cons, all that kind of stuff. I'm old fashioned, but I like those lists. Deidre, always great to see you. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to having you back on the program again very soon.
Thanks so much.
And don't forget to subscribe to our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse, for all the news in one place. Details, of course, at our website. And your subscription helps support all this great BRN content. We're back again tomorrow for another edition of BRN. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving. And don't forget, roll with the changes.